What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
It's your guy, TJ, Mr. New Cool.
And it's your girl, Dani. A mildly well-rested pigeon today, but...
So she just gets a brr. Don't get the full. And this is another episode of Lovers Quarrel.
Hello, hello.
Thank you for tuning in to all our lovers. If you're a new lover, we appreciate you for checking us out.
Thank you. Yeah, you know you look like WBLS, like After Dark, when you were like our new lovers, like Quiet Storm.
Respect.
So
anytime you take a dig, you go for it.
You know what? It's just jokes.
Mm-hmm. Anyway.
Yeah.
So we are in Jamaica.
Yes, recording from our first international location.
Yeah, big time now, real big time. So we have some special guests today,
which you'll hear in just a moment. But yeah, you ready for some elevator talk?
I'm always ready for the elevator talk.
Going up.
Okay.
So, I mean, listen, we on vacation. And how are you not going to be in like some type of a good mood if you're away in a tropical place with beautiful water and drinks and food and fellowship? So, I mean, although I spent a good chunk of time doing homework, as always.
So you should have started down first.
No,
go ahead.
you know, I'm
seeing a positive in it.
Yes,
I got
thank
you.
you.
I got you.
Appreciate it. You know, I'm on vacation, so even though I'm back to the grind tomorrow, hopefully my room is intact, my kids didn't tear it up, I can appreciate being away with you, with family, with a beautiful background, you know?
I can definitely understand that. I'm gonna piggyback off of you on that vacation. I'm over, although I'm over all-inclusives.
Oh, yeah, you said that.
It was cool to do it with a group of people.
I agree.
But I would rather just, be on a different, like, exploring more.
Yeah.
Like, it's but so much
Caribbean
food you can eat, Yeah. And their drinks aren't, like, anyway.
The strongest, yeah. Well, I mean, they gotta, so people become liabilities if you give them, like, all the alcohol they really want.
Yeah, but, listen, I said all-inclusive, not partly inclusive.
I mean, it is all included, but just how much of that you get.
I guess. I'm going. NBA season starting soon, and I'm really excited about that. So.
Is it?
Yes.
I did not know.
Yeah, we have like 2 weeks left. I think it starts next Tuesday.
Oh, get excited.
Extremely.
Woo.
Whatever.
You get the enthusiasm?
I do. It sounds like sarcasm.
It's not. I'm
it
very
really
excited.
is.
Tatum will enjoy watching with you.
Yeah, because me and her are Laker fans, true Laker fans.
Okay. I'm a LeBron fan. I've never.
You can't root for him.
Yes, I can. I can root for whoever I want to.
No.
I've never said that.
Not at all.
I was a team fan. I am a LeBron James fan. There is a distinct difference.
Anyway.
So therefore, I root for wherever he goes. So now we can wear purple and gold together.
No, you're not welcome.
Rue.
Me and Tatum, Rue. That's mad disrespectful. That is so disrespectful.
We can all wear Lakers gear together.
Nah.
I'm not welcome?
Nah, the only purple and gold you can wear is your fraternity brothers. Go Rue with them. Anyway. For our guests, do y'all have any elevator talk? Do y'all want to go up or down?
Let me know so I can do that. I can get my voice on.
Yeah, you do gotta let her know because now she'll forget.
Going down.
So I'm going to piggyback on what you guys said, but today's our last day. So I'm going down. And I have to go straight to work tomorrow, so.
Same here.
Yeah. So it was a great trip. Always enjoy hanging out with family.
But.
Pool and all that. But tomorrow's back to the grind again, so.
It's like a mild depression. It's like, oh my gosh. How about you, bro? Going up.
I'm going to go up and just say family time is always exciting. I think the hustle and bustle of daily life, you don't get an opportunity to reflect or just even talk to most of your family. So to have so many people here on this vacation at once, it was a good time to just hit everybody at once, or either here in certain pockets, have conversations. So I enjoyed it.
I appreciate it.
going up.
Going up.
Going up means good things, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I really enjoyed the trip. My most memorable or greatest part of the trip was actually bonding with my two little nephews. Playing ball with them. They had me playing ball for 3 straight days with flip-flops. Yesterday my back was messed up, but it was all worth it. He won 2 3-point shooting contests, so I know he had a great time. But I did beat the both of them.
We gotta make sure we put that in
Put that
there.
out
I understand. 2 of them
Disclaimer.
against me, and I did beat both of them. Also last night I had a great conversation talking to my 2 nieces as well, the young ones. Like I think just me vibing with the youth is what I really enjoyed, just to hear their perspective on things, hanging out with them. It was 2 different type of youths because my nephews are preteens and under, and yet my nieces are young women in their early 18, 19s, 20s or whatever. So it's 2 different conversations, but it gave me the same type of joy to just hear them out and listen. And our conversation last night was crazy. We was talking about stuff that like, oh my God, like, you know what I'm saying? So yes, I did enjoy it with the rest of the family as well. So yes, that was a great trip for me. And I don't have to go to work till Wednesday.
Throw that in
Way
there.
to rub it in.
You mean Thursday?
Thursday, yes. Yeah, I don't even know what day it is.
All right. Well, now you got a little taste of those voices. You might have an idea about who these people are, but before we formally introduce them, we're going to get into our relationship tips of the week. TJ with his
Straightforward,
Dick
awesome.
and Jane.
Dick and Jane.
Yeah. See Dick run. See Jane sit. Like I told you. They're very simple.
I mean, they're
I can appreciate them,
they're
but they're just
efficient.
always like mine are nuanced.
they're
And
efficient.
they have a lot of thought behind them.
I'm the original math problem. 1 + 1 = 2. You are Common Core.
First of all,
Yeah, exactly.
don't totally.
You
What's
already know
Common Core?
Common Core is like 1 + 1 = 2, but to get there, you have to
Get the one.
you got to subtract half and multiply and all this other stuff. See, Common Core is all this difficult. We don't need that.
It's
1
just
+ 1 is
different.
always equal to. You're right.
That's very difficult.
You're okay. Extra. There you go. Like it's mad extra for no reason.
The purpose of Common Core, no matter how you might feel about it, is to also show not just the what, but the why. Because you got to know how things happen,
Yeah.
or why they happen.
Because if you have 1 and then you add another 1, that means it equals 2. I mean, I don't think you use Common Core more than that, but there's probably a way.
There probably is.
Exactly. So anyway,
Oh, okay. Let me.
and you never closed the elevator or nothing. We just free riding on this thing. Just keep going.
You know why?
Just keep going. Nah.
You know why?
It's just going up and down, up and down, up and down.
Most elevators don't necessarily say. The more I thought about it, they don't say prepare for the closing doors. Train doors do,
No,
and the subway.
nah.
What was the floor or going up or going down? But like,
All right, so you could still say, all
I
right.
mean, I'm gonna say for the continuity of our
You
show.
could just say that
but
we're leaving the elevator or something.
You have to announce when you're getting off the elevator.
I mean,
What elevator you been on?
my elevator goes ding ding.
I can't.
It lets me know.
Okay. Since TJ needs a cue
I do.
of when to get off the elevator. Prepare for the closing doors.
That sounds so much better, yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway, on to our tip.
Okay.
Go ahead, let's do this Common Core first.
Such a hater.
Let's do the history lesson.
So, while we were on vacation, we were having, like, obviously time together, time with family. And last night we were having a conversation with one of your uncles, right? And it was just the 3 of us sitting out there.
Okay.
And it got me to thinking that sometimes in relationships, marriages, friendships, whatever your ship is, it's important to have a trustworthy ear that isn't always your partner. So meaning like, and I'm not even talking about necessarily like, oh, me and TJ got into it and I'm venting to somebody, because those people exist too. But sometimes having kind of like a neutral party, and you end up like, because it was very organic how we started coming up with like having that conversation, and it ended up being about me and you. You remember, baby?
Sure.
Whatever. Verbal shrug. So, point I'm trying to make is that I think it's important sometimes to bounce your thinking off of somebody as it pertains to your relationship, or to ask some, basically sometimes have somebody there who will listen without judgment, who will sometimes give you solid feedback, or who somebody's going to just call you out and say, no, that doesn't make sense, or no, I can see what the other person is saying. Because when you're in longer term relationships, or you know someone for a long time, as well as you know them, it also means sometimes that's how little or how receptive you're not to sometimes what they have to say or what they're doing, because you feel like, I know what they're all about. So you know the intent behind what they're doing. So sometimes having like a third party can be impactful or helpful. What I want to emphasize, because I have it here on my notes, is that this person has to be trustworthy. And this person, you don't necessarily go to that person with all of your personal business, with all of your marital or your relationship stuff. But like the conversation we had yesterday with your uncle was about you and I, but not in a point where like we were taking digs or being malicious or anything. We were just kind of talking about the differences between you and I. And he was kind of like a good mirror to both sides as far as like explaining each other. And I think that that's helpful sometimes, because it lets you see people in a new light, or reminds you that as well as you know somebody, as thorough as your background with this person is, that there's always a new perspective that you realize that they may have that you are not familiar with. So, sometimes a third party helps. And if that person could also be a therapist to somebody like that too, quite honestly, if you seek counseling as a couple. But I just think that sometimes it's healthy. So, yeah, that was my Common Core relationship tip.
It was very Common Core.
But
it took 35 minutes.
You're a hater. And
I liked it though. I'm gonna give you that.
So then I win.
No.
Because when I say I like yours, I win.
No. It's totally different.
Why?
It's because mine is still gonna be better than yours.
Oh my god.
It's just.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Let me hear this 1 + 1 = 2.
What's going on, world? Real quiet. My relationship tip of the week is do a DIY project or a project together. Something real simple, but it's a way to bond. Put the phones away. See, you always gotta put the phone away because social media is the devil.
Oh yes, should get that on a T-shirt for you for the live show.
We might have to.
I think we should.
I think we should as well. If you need a new, table or need a new desk or something, you could do it together. Don't make that face.
If we need a new table for my kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Me and you.
Yeah.
He and she.
Yeah.
Him, her. Building it together.
You trying to say we can't build it together?
I'm saying
I built a whole bunch of stuff once I knew Tatum was coming to the world. I started becoming a builder.
Okay, fair enough.
All right then. See,
so you did it for your daughter, so we gotta make a desk for Tatum.
All right, that works. See, world
growth.
I'm trying to include her. I said let's do it together, and she gave me a whole bunch of sarcasm and everything else.
I think a touch of sarcasm. Yeah.
And this is the reason why.
Why?
This is why my stuff is too highbrow for her.
What?
She doesn't want to grow.
I was triggered because I'm coming off of like a years long time of I'm the handy woman.
You right.
I'm the handy woman in the relationship.
When you went away with Tatum, she had a crib. When you came back, what was it?
It was a toddler bed.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
People forget.
People forget. It was for Tatum.
People forget.
So I'm gonna go buy a new nightstand and be like, it's for Tatum. Can you build it? Tatum says she needs this.
You right. Whatever.
Well, I appreciate it though. Let's do a project. Can we do like coloring too?
I don't want to do it you no more.
Can we color?
Nah.
Can we do something that involves glue?
Something that involves glue.
Like you say, a project. So what if we want to like put together something like we do like a vision board together?
Ooh.
That'd be fun.
Exactly.
You gonna do it with me?
Yep.
You're such a jerk.
Yeah.
I'm done. Well,
So as always, my tip, way better.
it's not.
You know,
It's just different.
have trustworthy friends, but are they going to do a project with you? That's the question.
Have trustworthy friends, but is your partner going to do? Are they going to supervise?
What you mean?
You know, you're gonna be like management.
There you go, trying to take digs again. Like I said, you have trustworthy friends. You can have them. We all need them. But are they going to do that project with you? I'm here. I'm ready to do a project.
All right, so when we get home, I'm about to like whip out the hammer and nails and.
All right, cool. Maybe a couple of holes in the wall, but listen,
Oh my God.
we're going to work together. We're going to make this thing work.
I'm done.
And on that note, we're going to take a moment and hear a message from our sponsors.
But I'm bummed.
This week's episode is brought to you by,
Us.
our live show.
It's coming up November 10th, the year of our Lord 2018, in Baltimore, Maryland.
You gotta let people
We
know
emphasize that. We will make sure people know so no one's going to New York just yet. There's going to be drinks available. There's going to be music.
What?
There's going to be raffles and prizes.
And the most important thing is,
There's going to be me and you. And
I would have said us, but anyway.
okay. But we are having this live show November 10th at 8 p.m. And you
The
can
doors open at 8 p.m.
doors
Show
open
starts at 8:30.
And you can get your tickets at Lovers Quarrel .eventbrite.com.
Yeah, silently cut you off.
It's alright. But just don't do that during the show.
Definitely don't disrespect me like this.
Y'all, get your tickets because there is limited space available and we want to see everybody come out to this. It's going to be a great time overall. And you guys get to see me and TJ go at it live in the flesh.
And y'all get to see me win, like I always do.
Loversquarrel.eventbrite.com. Get your tickets ASAP. Saturday, November 10th in Baltimore, Maryland. Bye. And now, let's get back to the episode.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, everybody.
So now,
It's
as I stated earlier, we have some special guests.
very, very special guest.
You heard them speak a little earlier. They're actually our first guest to like really be quiet, besides the yawn. But you know,
Listen, there are people new to this. So, 2/3 of our guests, made one half of our podcast possible. That's a little Common Core for you, for that ass, all right? And we have in front of us TJ's parents and his brother, my lovely, wonderful in-laws that I love dearly. So, let's start with ladies first. In front of us, we have Laura.
you said ladies.
Ladies first. So, I'm introducing your mother.
Isn't ladies plural? I'm just asking.
You know what?
I'm just trying to make sure I know.
I'm a teacher.
Yeah, no, I'm asking.
And I'm telling you my
Go ahead.
business right now.
Go ahead.
Like I'll tell the students sometimes. Hey, Ma.
Hey, love. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. And then center in front of us, we've got our big bro, Aunt. What's up, Aunt?
What up, Shanley?
And then last but certainly not least, you have Terrence Sr., otherwise known as Ice.
Who crosses his legs?
So what? That's how, somebody said that's how rich people say it, right?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
So this is
He's
TJ,
ready.
TJ's dad, Ice.
What's
So
going on, everybody? How y'all do?
make sure you clear that throat. Everybody's got to hear you.
Got you.
Yeah. So thank you guys for taking last couple hours of your vacation and spending it with us on this episode. We do appreciate it. And we thought this would be a great time because we've been talking about vacation and being away with family. So what better guest to have than our actual family?
Agreed.
And I think the way that we kind of wanted to start this off, because on one hand, you guys are like guests that like we pretty much know your history, we know your background. We didn't have to do that much research on y'all, but we wanted to ask questions kind of about your own experiences with relationships, also the family dynamic that the four of you all had growing up, or as TJ and Aunt were growing up, because I think it's important. One thing that we always try to do when we have guests on is to speak to a narrative that TJ and I have not experienced or don't, or won't experience. And in this case, the focus might be like blended families, because you guys are, or even though it may not even seem like it at this stage in the game, at some point became blended early on, and your parents' marriage, and then Anthony and TJ. But then also, Anthony, you are engaged and and are a part of a blended family as well.
Yes.
So we think that that's like a really important subject to touch on, because I feel like in this day and age, more people than not are forming or are product of blended families, myself included. So yeah, that's kind of the angle.
But we also want to kind of talk about the difference. For me, growing up, a blended family was just family,
Same.
Blended family is a newer term, I would feel like. And, you don't typically hear the positive stories. You hear a lot of the negatives, Parents break up, they get remarried, they don't like each other. So that was never our case. So I thought it would be important to kind of have that conversation. How did you guys make it work? How do you make it work? Because becoming a parent, and this is just my point of view, it would be really hard not to be a good parent, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how people are like deadbeats or allow their ex to like not allow them to be a parent. Mm-hmm. It would be very hard for me. But there's a lot of people who don't see their kids, and because of their baby mother or baby father or their new family, that they're jealous or upset about.
Yeah. So I guess let's just start with this. We'll go to the OGs first. Our in-law, well, my parents, our parents.
Yeah, they're not my in-laws.
Shut up. Listen. Okay.
You got it.
How in the beginning, I don't know, many years ago, when it was just when you guys first met, and it was understood that Laura, and even though I call you Ma, but I'm gonna say so the people know who I'm talking to. Mm-hmm. And,
Nah, they could just call her Ma.
I'm trying to make sure that everybody knows names and stuff. All right, Ma, whatever.
There it goes.
So shut up. And once it became clear that obviously you have a son, and you met Ice, and then you guys realized that this was going somewhere, like not just like past the introductory, like I'm trying to get to know you phase, like this is becoming something. Like what did that look like for you from both your perspectives, as far as like, okay, not only am I getting it, like for you, Ice, I'm getting into not just a relationship with Laura, but also with Anthony, and then also how is it like, how am I letting Ice into our life, not just my life? Like what was that? What did that look like? What did that feel like?
Who you going to first?
I'm always deferring to my mother-in-law first, because that's ladies first.
I'm going to go to the OG.
So you're just going to cut me off. All right, okay. All right.
As TJ alluded to earlier, where I came from, family is family. Mm-hmm. So it never even dawned on me that, he wasn't my biological son. Plus, my mother told me a long time ago, I think I was young, I don't even know how old it was. She said, if you ever love a woman and she have a child, you got to love that child as well. Mm-hmm. But I always felt like that anyway. I never, oh my God, I treated him as my son. As far as he was concerned, that was my son. I did as many fatherly things that I thought, I could do for him. I never grew up with a father, so I never had a blueprint. Mm-hmm. But I did grow up with love, and I did grow up with a family that we always had each other's backs. From my brothers, my 4 brothers. I got 4 brothers. Four brothers. I got my 4 brothers and my sister, my older cousins, and I have a huge family. And our cousins are like our brothers. Mm-hmm. When I hang out with my cousins, it's like we are actually sisters and brothers. Mm-hmm. So our family is rooted in togetherness and bond and love. So therefore, that's the only thing that I could bring. And it was also a blessing that Anthony's father was a great guy that was not like, yo, you doing my son, yada yada yada. Me and him actually had a great relationship. We talked about ball, we drank whatever. We had fun, you know what I'm saying? So that also helped it too, because sometimes in these relationships the father could get a little jealous or be like, yo, what you doing with my son, and things like that. So thank God I never had to go through that. But because he also came from a family that's full of love, I guess he understood that too. And I think that's important, because a lot of our culture, culturally in our society, a lot of us have a lot of dysfunction in our families. Brothers fighting brothers, sisters not talking to each other over some stuff or whatever. But when you come from that, and it was 3-4 was my family, Laura's family, which is also a family stoked in love. Half of them are here together. Like with this trip, it's 36 of us here. So I think when it comes to that, I think if you can, it was lucky that I got into a situation where love was the key in the family. So,
and Mom, before I let you go, you can't curse on this podcast. I feel like
get the fuck out.
And so I was because when he said
rewind this shit.
I know my father-in-law. I know my father-in-law. And I was like, stuff. And I'm like, let me put that preface out there real quick. So yes,
my bad.
You can say what you want.
Yeah, that was Terrence.
God
damn. Yeah, that was you met Terrence. Now you about to meet Ice. So yes. All right, Ma.
So I'll say, when I met Terrence, he was a gentleman. He was a good guy. He loved his mother. And they kind of say, if you got a man who loves, respect his mother, then you possibly got a good man. But he was just good with Anthony. He's good with kids. But he was good with Anthony. And I remember once there was a snowstorm and we was stuck in Catherine's house over the weekend. And in the morning, Anthony, you know, I'm a late riser. I love to sleep. Anthony got up like at 7. Terrence got up. He fed him. I got up around noon. Terrence took a nap. He got back up. He fed him. Like, we was a tag team, and we were on different schedules. And sometimes people think, you know, no, we both need to do this together and everything together. But Terrence and I kind of flow differently. He's an early riser. I'm a late riser. But when we get up, we know our roles. We know what we need to do. We know how we need to get things in. And I appreciated that. And I said, if he's doing this for Anthony like this, he's dedicated. I don't even have to ask him. He knows exactly what he needs to do. Come on, like, I gotta marry this man. And also because, you know, when Big Anthony and I were no longer together, as Terrence said, we were always really good friends. Like, he's a great guy. And I had already introduced him to Anthony. I'm like, I'm not going to introduce another guy. You know, I'm not just going to be running guys in and out of here. So when I met him, the moment that I decided to introduce him to Anthony, I already knew
that you wanted
that there was something there, and this was going to go someplace. Otherwise, I would have never introduced him. So he was just a really good guy, and he showed and proved on a child that he was not biologically his. So
definitely, I mean, and I think that that's such an important thing to say, because you know, when I think back on, like, or this is what I heard from my own family, like with my dad and my sister, that was kind of the same thing, which was my dad came into my sister's life a little older than Anthony was. She was like 7, 8, but same kind of thing, like, you know, just there, present. And you know, once, you know, especially once my mom decided obviously to bring him around, and she felt loved and cared for, and I think that was obviously, like, you know, probably a selling point, or whatever you want to call it, for like my mom. And then even though my parents ultimately did not work out later on in life, the difference being is that, like, my mother knew that this could go somewhere because of how he did treat my sister. So I think that's important. Like, how you treat the kid is very indicative of, like, whether or not this can go somewhere.
100%, I agree.
So can I?
Yeah.
So Anthony, being the kid,
Yeah.
What do you think, or what do you remember kind of from that time?
From that time, I just remember just fun, just always having fun, always being happy. I think I'm pretty much still genuinely just a happy kid in an adult body, and it wasn't any negativity as a child. I think the dynamics came in is when you try to understand your role. Now you're not the only child, and now there's another child. How do we get along? This is now you were a super a-hole, so
TJ ruined it. When it was just you three, it was fine.
It was excellent. It was,
Anthony don't like responsibility. Okay.
The greatest memory was the studio apartment where I had the closet as my room, and I had all my video games. I used to climb on the shelves and jump back and forth. We used to watch all types of Saturday morning cartoons, Pee-wee's Playhouse, Transformers, all that stuff. And you came into the mix, and all of a sudden it's just like downhill from there.
That's crazy, man.
So you were in the blendedness.
But I love you though. That's what matters.
The basic Ann had a great 7 years, and then the rest of the shit is downhill. That's crazy.
That's all right.
The first 7 years of life was
Doesn't mean you had your
You've
own.
been chasing the
You had your own
dream.
video games. See,
Yeah,
See?
I
you
mean,
didn't have to share video games.
it came because you used to break all my stuff.
Well, listen, I don't care how we got there. I'm just saying we had our own stuff. We had TVs in our room. See, we didn't have to share the living room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We got all. It was positive to me. This is crazy. Episode over. No. So for you, and you're going through a blended family right now, and for you, what was that dynamic? From meeting your future daughter. That sounds so weird. Anyway.
His bonus daughter.
His bonus, yeah, that's the term. But
My
his daughter,
current daughter, still my baby girl.
How was that for you as far as just going into that situation? Because you were married, no longer married, you have 2 kids of your own, and now it's like you're starting over.
Okay.
So
I'll give you a little background. When me and my 2 oldest children's mother split, I went through different dating scenarios where everybody kind of has a child or has some type of family dynamic. So then I had to figure out what type of woman was I looking for, what type of family dynamic I wanted. So dating different people, I noticed that there was different parenting styles. And I realized if I didn't like the children, then I definitely didn't want to be here. So the next goal was to find somebody who, if they had a child, I can get along with. So the way me and Steph actually got together was my car was in the shop. And I was going to the gym frequently at the time, so I had to go to the bus stop. And I was sitting at the bus stop, and she was there with Anaya. So, me and Steph grew up together, right down the block from each other, childhood friends. And, I knew her family. She knows my family. Me and her brother played in a bunch of tournaments as children, collected trophy. I'm better. Kev, I'm nice. So we get a lot of trophies and stuff like that. So we get on the bus, and the whole conversation was me and Anaya. It had nothing to do with Steph.
okay,
And I was just like, this little child here has so much spark, so much spunk, so much fire. I actually like talking to her. So then I threw a little thing at Steph, because you know about Playtime Worldwide. That's my group. I was like, we throwing an event downtown. You should come. And the first event she came to, and we didn't kick it off there, but she came to another event where we actually had a time to connect. And I told her from when we started dating, was like, I have children, you have children. I don't like mixing my children with everybody I date. So if we introduce our children together, I feel like that's a stamp that we're going to make this work from this point on. And she agreed.
okay,
So eventually, when we got to that point, we've been together ever since as a family.
okay.
Aww. Well, I think that's And I think that's dope, and I think it's a good dynamic too, especially because it's slightly different than what your parents had had, because coming into that, you were really young. Ice didn't have any children of his own coming into the relationship at that point, whereas you and Steph both have children. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's also an important thing, because there's like, it might be subtle differences, but there's still differences between those dynamics of being blended. And I want to say though, like, one thing TJ touched on was like blended families, whatever, are probably more the rule than the exception to the rule. I feel like in this day and age, and so even though it may not have been necessarily your experiences, we all know people who are also of this dynamic. And what are some of the challenges you might have experienced, or that you witnessed other people experience in trying to bring their families together? Because it's not always steeped in love. It's not always the biological parent gets along well with the bonus parent or whatever. It's not always as cut and dry as simple as maybe the path you all took has been. So like, what are some things that some challenges that you've also seen people have, or that you might have had?
So one of the things I say that I saw sometimes, and this is not for all women, but sometimes women will not allow fathers to see their children if there's no money involved. And I get it, but I just think that children are the most important thing. And for Anthony, I feel like however he perceived his father, or however I perceived his father, would be how he perceived himself. So I always wanted his father to, even though he was a good man, but I was always going to lift him up and make him the king that he needed to be for Anthony. And if I believe if a father or a mother ain't shit, the kid will find out on his own. But it's not going to be my job to say, your dad ain't shit, your dad don't do this, your dad don't do this, or your mother don't do this. Because that person who ain't shit may find their way along the way. And by the time the child is old enough to actually have a relationship with that parent on their own, now this parent is such a good parent and they're doing the right thing and they're responsible, but all that other parent kept putting in your head is your mom ain't shit and your dad ain't shit, and now they looking at you sideways. So for me, at the end of the day, money does not make it. Like, if they don't have all the money and you can survive on your own, I believe that a parent should always be able to see their child and have time with their child. Now, if they're not good parents and they're strung out on drugs and all that, that's another story. But if their funds are a little low, I don't think that money should be the entry point into a child's life.
Got it. Gentlemen?
Some of the challenges that I've seen or heard about is jealousy with the new parent.
Okay.
So let's say a woman has a new man, he's taking out the kids to the baseball game, doing things for them. The real father finds out about this, so now he's mad. Or he's angry. I don't want that nigga around my kids. What's going on? Or he'll talk to the kids and try to downgrade the man, although the man is doing it. And I think that causes some conflict as far as it pertains to the family, to the household that the child is in. Because now the child is thinking, but this guy is really good. He's really doing stuff that my father's not doing, yet my father's talking about him like he's no good. Where does a kid go from there? And I think that's very selfish of the other parent. I mean, if you ain't doing shit, you got to man up and say, yo, I can't, or I'm not. But that's the reality of it is, and you can't down another man for doing what he needs to do in order to get your child to a place, in order for your child to be happy. It should be about the child. So I've seen challenges where it's jealousy with the biological parent because they feel inadequate because of the new parent is doing things that they themselves should be doing.
That just reminds me of like the whole Sierra Future and Papa Russ, like Russell Wilson, because that's definitely like, at least from the outside looking in, of like Russell Wilson is like so present with the son, with Future, the child, and he's doing all the things that Future, the biological father, doesn't seem to be doing, and but then, like, you know, seems like sometimes it's given the appearance that like Future's hating, and so obviously we don't know these people.
That's not an appearance, though. That is what it is. But you know,
I mean, grain of salt.
I call it hating because he has songs where he talks about his father, talks about the father. Like he's done a lot of things, and with social media, the devil. It intensifies it. You know, there was so many people downplaying Russell Wilson, like he was a terrible person for picking up the slack of another man. And then, like, more recently now, people are saying he's cool because he did the video with Sierra. Like, and you know, it kind of goes back to why I started using the new cool, you know. We have to make those things cool. We have to make being a positive role model, being a positive person cool. Because that's not cool. Like, being a father, it's not cool. Another man taking care of another man's son you're not cool. You're a sucker. You know what I mean?
Right. That's
what society and that's what social media is telling us. But any man who wants to be a father, any man who changes their life for the betterment of their children, their family, that's a man. That's cool. Like, you know, people talking about, you know, sorry, going off on a tangent, but people, like, you know, designer, like wearing designer stuff makes you cool. But now Fashion Nova, and now people are changing that. Like, oh, we can wear Fashion Nova. We can wear Fashion Nova, but we don't have to wear Gucci. You know, it's the narrative. It's okay to be yourself, and that's what the new cool is all about. Be yourself. It's okay to be the nerd, quote unquote.
Right.
You know, you don't have to fit anybody else's stereotype. So,
I think that's a good point. No, listen, get it off your chest, babe. And I think that is really important too, because to me, it takes more of a man or more of a woman to openly embrace a child, a family, a dynamic that is not of your own by the DNA, because that means that you're saying there's something to be said for choosing family as opposed to just being born into one or just making one. Because when things are a choice, that means you're actively engaging. That means you know that there's an option. There's an option. You could say, you know what, hard pass, not my bag. But to actively choose family, to choose to make whatever that dynamic is, and welcome with open arms bonus children, or and to go through the legwork of the relationships with the biological parent, because if that's the dynamic, I think it makes a person more upstanding. It makes them more. I guess what I'm gonna say is just like it makes them. I have more respect for that, because it takes so much more work, and it's opening yourself up to challenges that you would not have necessarily faced had you not gotten with somebody who had children, or if you stayed with the person who you have children with, or whatever the way you want to look at it. So to me, like, it's a nod, a tip of my hat, because it is something to be said whenever you walk into something and make the active choice to be like, I want to make this work, or I'm going to do what I have to do. Because when things are just kind of thrust upon you, you just deal with it, as opposed to if you're making the active choice.
You didn't get Anthony's.
Oh, sorry.
I will say that Pop laid the blueprint on how to appreciate a situation or to step into something and make it the best. Which, when I was a kid or even in my teens, I didn't understand. And when I got older and I had to reflect on my life, and I'm like, damn, like, if he didn't love me like his own, would I be here in this predicament? Would my mom be the great mom that she is? Would he be the great dad he is? So everything kind of just flowed like it was supposed to. So now I have that insight on how to go forward with my current situation. And I told my fiance, I was like, I could never love you if I don't love Anaya. And that's why I love her so much, because she is a connection from you.
Yeah.
She is you. So I have to love her because I love you. And I think it shows when everybody sees our family dynamic. I've never, ever, ever, ever treated her like she's not my own. And on top of that, me and her father happen to have a great relationship, which is, out of the norm.
Yeah.
So, like, on Thanksgivings, when we come and we drop kids off, stuff like that, me and him would get together, talk fantasy basketball, fantasy football, have a few shots, and stuff like that. Like, I like his energy. He likes my energy. And shout out to Smitty. So, me and him get along very well, and I appreciate that.
It always makes things a lot easier.
Yes.
That shows that parents are, number one, mature and adults.
Yes.
And that they're putting their children first. If you put the children first, it's really all about them. Once you become a parent, you can't be selfish. It's all about them. And when you put the children first and you're mature and adults, that's the outcome you get.
Because kids don't ask to be here.
Not at all.
So, okay, so we kind of touched on this already in that TJ ruined your life, Anthony. But
should have never told her that.
they'll be like, you ruined everything. So, because I too am a life ruiner, my question is,
Way to clean that up.
yeah, whatever. Parentals, since you've already been through this, and Anthony, you and Steph may go through this. What changes or what dynamics or what things are different after the blended family becomes cemented with the birth of a child together? So you guys blended when it was just you three amigos running the streets in New York together, and then here comes Damien and aka TJ, and so like now it's gone from like, okay, I have a bonus child or whatever you want to call it, but now it's like, okay, we are having a child together, and now there's that shift, which is in any family, once you go from one child to two or 2 to 3, whenever there's the addition of a child, regardless of the arrangement, it's always going to a dynamic shift is going to happen. But then for you guys, what did the introduction of TJ into the fold do to the family dynamic? And then to Ant, like, I know you and Steph, you guys have obviously 3 children combined, and now, but then also the conversation of having a child together is probably somewhere on the table. So what does that conversation look and sound and feel like about like the implications it'll have on not only you all, but then also Destin, Angel, and Anaya? So we can go to the
well, to me, looking back, I never even seen that. I don't know at what point it was a shift. I'm just saying, to me, life just went on. We had 1, now we got 2. Moving right along.
Okay.
Now we got to do extra things. I got to get up early to take him to the daycare or things like that. We have to buy a little more food. We got to wake up at night. But to me, I never thought about it. It was just something that happened. We had to have a child. So now what are we going to do? Keep it moving. Let's make this work. That's part of being a resilient family to me. It's like, so I never really said, even when he was born, oh man, what are we going to do? It's going to be different now. It just organically happened, and I just kept it moving. So now I have 2 sons, 2 different ages, 2 different personalities, 2 different, things I have to do, certain things. I still could take Ant out to go play ball and stuff like that because he was playing ball. With TJ, I just have to take him outside or do little baby things with him. And then as they grew older, they became brothers. And then some of the stuff that I was doing with TJ, Anthony was now doing it. He took him out to play ball, or he had a bigger brother now, So to me, it just kept moving. Like, there was no shift in our dynamics or anything. It's just a new addition. Keep it moving. This is what my life happened to be like, so I'm going to rock out with this.
cool.
I think I'll just agree with Ice. For me, it felt like I came from 6 siblings. So for me, it just felt right. Like we needed another child. I mean, I wanted 4, but after Tej,
He's like 4 and 1.
and not because he was busy, but life is easy with 1 kid. you throw another kid in there. And not only that, you think about college. You think of, like, for me, I wanted them to have their best life. So for me, the family just got bigger, it got stronger, and it was like you said, solidified. Like, okay, now we're real. For me, I felt like now we're a real family.
You felt complete.
Definitely, it was definitely a complete family. Like, you know, we got Aunt, and now we got TJ, and he's made from us, and we got Aunt, and he, you know, he bonded us. I think definitely Anthony made our relationship stronger because the way he interacted, like with Anthony, like the way he loved him,
Made you love him.
made me. I could never love Terrence the way that I loved him. Had he not loved him
the way he did.
So it just, for me, solidified the family. It just made us stronger.
And then you decided 2 was enough, right?
Two, and it wasn't just because TJ was busy. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, and what happened
a lot of
we
work.
could have another one after TJ, but remember, we were young and we were still going through our careers. We were
Yeah.
still moving up. So let's say we had another baby a year after or 2 years after. It wasn't the right time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we were both moving in directions of making sure that they had a good life. So we had to do what we had to do professionally in order to become a family where they don't have to worry about stuff. Me personally, I grew up poor. You know what I'm saying? I grew up with no food. I know what it is with the cheese and all that type of shit. But like I said earlier, we always had love. So I didn't even know that we was hungry or poor. Because we were always clean. Like, I didn't know we was poor. Now looking back, oh shit, we was always clean. We was always respectable, and we always did it. Like, I had four brothers myself, 4 brothers and 1 sister. So in our house we did what we did, whatever we did, playing cards, whatever, watching TV. It was us. It was always us because it was just us that we had.
Yeah.
So when it came to family, I wanted my family to be like that, but I wanted my family to live a better life than I did. So as I'm building a career, sometimes having another kid at a certain time could kind of push you back.
Yeah.
Because you might have to be at work and do certain things, and now the baby's crying, and you know you gotta go to school, and it takes down. And some jobs ain't gonna give a fuck about your kid's life. You know what I'm saying? So by the time we were established, now TJ was probably 5 or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now it's a whole different dynamic because now he's 5. He's on his way to whatever school. And now we got to start all over again.
And you're
with
a
the
little
newborn
older.
and a little older. Exactly. So that's basically what happened. You know.
Yeah.
It was definitely financial.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make sure that they went to college.
Yeah.
Like, that was important. And that was one of the reasons I waited 7 years. Because I didn't want them in college at the same time. Look where we were at that time. I knew I couldn't afford it. I couldn't even afford college, but I knew I couldn't afford both of them
At the same
time. So I did that 7-year thing for that. But that was one of the reasons we held off. And like I said, by the time the money was good, he didn't. I wanted another one, but he was like, "You on your own."
And I think that's important. You know what though? But I feel like that's so important to hear and to discuss because, like, you know, as far as you know, in our marriage now, we have Tatum, and Tatum is amazing. You know,
Yes, she is.
but you know, right? But then once you have one, first when you have none, when you gonna have one, and then when you have one, when you gonna have 2, and it's like, well, wait a minute, let's not police my uterus. And then the other thing becomes just like, you know, it has to make sense for the parents. It has to make sense for the dynamic because, you know, I've had people tell me, just wait, like, you know, so you're like, I didn't want them to be in college at the same time. But then you got people who say, rather have them like back to back to back, you just kind of go through, you know, 5 or 6 years of just never sleeping, and then it lightens the load because then they keep each other occupied. So people make these arguments to me all the time about why you should wait, why you shouldn't wait, and it's kind of like you gotta just do what's best for you all. Like for us right now, with me still in school, and
No, we can't do nothing.
yeah, we got a little time because like it will be too much. I spent all of my time in grad school being either pregnant or a mother,
Right.
and so it's hard now. You know, it's hard now with a village with, you know, people, my husband, with my mom, my sister, people close by, my sister-in-law, like, and it's still hard as hell because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, is like that baby or that child, like ultimately it always falls back to mommy and daddy, because like we are the person that brought this person into the world, the people that brought this person into the world. So no matter how much help you have with your village, which is always appreciated, there's going to be those days, those nights where it's just like, it's just down to us. And so that's why I think it's so important to make like that informed decision, because like I definitely want more than one. I may not want 4, or you know, I don't necessarily want to have 1 or 6. Like I can appreciate it.
6 is just outrageous.
6 is your parents don't want a 6.
I know.
That's outrageous.
Exactly.
So, you know, but I think that's important.
So that's outrageous. 2 stupid.
2 is not you are of 2.
All right.
I am of 2.
And that's why I can say stupid.
Because I'm
if there was one more of us, show. Anyway, that's another story for another day.
But you got to focus on the ones that are here on the earth right now.
No. I mean, hearing my parents kind of talk about it. I mean, it gives a different perspective. You know, sometimes I can be impulsive, so you know, I want what I want, but sometimes you got to, you know, you got to hear other stories. You got to hear other things. You got to see other things to be able to kind of reflect correctly. So, you know, being able to hear it, like, you know, if having the 4 that I want would be like detrimental to, you know, our lives, then I wouldn't want 4.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but I'm also like, I just know I want more than 2. I'll settle for 3, and we can adopt one.
Okay. Well, this is not. We'll talk about that later. That's another episode.
Anthony.
And
Okay. Y'all said a lot, so
yeah.
let me add some more clarity on my end. Okay, so hearing my parents talk about the gap in age in college, I never even thought about that as a parent. Never thought about planning that far ahead. But this time around, we said that we were going to wait until after our marriage to decide when we're going to have our first child. And in doing so, you got to think about the other 3. Destin is normally the quiet, innocent one who's in his room. He's the boy. He's the oldest. It's the 2 youngest that seem to have a tiff. I don't know if it's because they share a room. I don't know if it's because they're too far in age, as far as Angel about to turn 14 and Naya being 9. And I don't know if it's a territory thing. You know, I don't know if they love each other, but it's always like they gotta argue about something. Like, I want some cereal. Well, why don't you get the cereal? But we don't have this. Well, this is it. I'm like, so why even argue about cereal? We ain't even got the cereal. Like, y'all just finding something to argue about. So when I think about bringing another child into that, I always tell them, like, if y'all want a brother and sister, y'all got to figure out how to get past that, because that's going to be another one. If it ends up being a girl, that means that all 3 of y'all going to be at each other's throats, which I don't need. AKA, I want a boy, no matter what. But, yeah, so just thinking about that dynamic, hearing from them. But the other weird thing that y'all mentioned, but actually both couples mentioned, was the struggle financially. So me and Steph talk about that a lot, and I find it weird that no matter how much life continues to progress, you still have struggle with 2 parents working, no matter what. I got an older cousin, him and his wife both make 6 figures, and they're struggling. And I'm just like, y'all make a lot of money, how you struggling? And he's just like, yo, it's just how it is. I don't understand how it is. We manage our money well, we got investments here, this and that, but every time we turn around, we're like, damn, how do we fall behind on this? And I'm just like, no matter where I look at financially or, you know, family status, 2 parents still trying to figure it out. And that's one thing that we are trying to figure out on ourselves. Like, how are we going to get this child, and how are we going to financially take care of the new one with the 3 we already have?
It's definitely, it's a testament to the country and the world that we live in, that like you can be making, you said 6 figures, but like a new tax bracket just usually means more problems, like or more bills, because I've had
said more money, more problems.
They weren't lying, because like even when I got my first promotion at work, like I was like, bet, like, whew, like a little bit of a breather. Plus, like at that point, that was before they stole my car, so I didn't have a car note. And I was like, great, like I have one less major bill and more money. And yeah, it was still kind of like at the end of the month, I'd be like, where the hell is my money? Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Because something always comes up. And like, I think it's so important, like, you know, which I think actually just sitting here right now is like, what's so dope is that, you know, as a family here, like we could all have this conversation now about like kids and what we want to plan for, whatever, because now like the 5 of us are sitting here all as mothers and fathers. And I say that like that's kind of like endearing and like cool to me because like me and TJ were together since we were like 16, 17 years old. So like kids ourselves, you know, and now like we have a kid and you got obviously your parents and so I think it's dope that we can have that conversation, and it just goes to show that like the priority that like kids become, like, you know, they are everything, like, you know, and not to say you should negate or neglect your partner, because obviously like when the nest becomes empty, you gotta make sure that you feel like you can still bang with the person that you started this whole thing with. But it's so cool to me that we are able to have these conversations as like Black professionals of different, you know, varying ages, but still just being like, hey, what are we going to do to make sure that we're giving our future generations better than what we had? And like, and I'm saying that as somebody who had, like, you know, I could think back fondly on my childhood. Like, I had a great fucking time, and I know a lot of people who didn't have that. So for me, it's just like the bar is really high because Tony and Greg did a bang up job with me and Shayla as far as doing right by us. And I feel like Aunt and TJ can say the same thing about you two. It's like, yeah, like, you know, like, and so that's why we want to, it's a great motivator to go hard in the paint for Tatum, for Destin, for Angel, for Anaya, and because of where we came from. So I'm gonna jump off my soapbox, but I'm tipping my hat to all of y'all again, parentals.
Thank you.
And so, cause you know, y'all do a bang up job, and even you're our brother, but we watched you be a father to Destin and Angel for a long time, and then even now adding Anaya into the. You were scared about being a dad?
I was scared about him being a dad.
Why?
Because he treated me terribly.
I treated you as a result of your actions.
He said you were an asshole.
See?
Destin's not an asshole.
Basically.
But that means if Destin was an asshole, he'll make him walk across the courtyard
I read the story so many times.
barefoot.
I don't even know the story you're talking about, but
He
okay.
said you made him walk across the courtyard with no shoes
Listen,
on.
that's neither here nor there.
He's holding on to it.
So, this is my last like blended family question. What tips would y'all give to somebody who's going through a blended family? You know, if they're going through it, you know,
Or dating someone.
or dating somebody with kids, what tips would you give them to kind of make it a smooth ride?
I would just say, if you're dating a person who is only going out on dates with you and not getting to know your children, not trying to spend time with your children, drop them. Drop her. It's not going to get no better. People show you who they are in the beginning. You get the very best in the beginning, and it's downhill from there. So if they are not spending time or making effort to get to know your kids, that's it. It's done.
I'm just going to talk. I'm not even talking about blended family, because once you become a blended family, you automatically become a parent. So I'm just giving parenting tips. And parenting tips is number one, you and the wife or the mother, y'all need to be on the same page as to what's your philosophy of parenting. Because, and even if you're not on the same page, you still have to work together. You know what I'm saying? Because when it came to me and Laura, punishment is two different things that we disagreed on.
Agreed.
But we were on a united front in front of the kids. They didn't know that. We would talk about it later, you know. But you have to have an understanding of what kind of family, and the lady or the mother has to say, okay, this is what you do. There's roles, I'm trying to say. So knowing the roles, and you have to be able to let that new person into your life and give him that autonomy and the authority to do what he has to do and raise your kids, but you have to trust him as well. And you're going to gain the trust by what Laura said, seeing the interactions with your child. Because mothers, they know how a man feels about their kid, or what a kind of, how their children are going to react to that person. So you have to be able to come to a common ground with that and have that trust within that person. And the person that's in the blended family, you have to realize that that child is yours just as if it was your own biological kid, because you are the father figure in there, or the mother figure, or whatever. You are the figure. You are who are they going to come to if they have some kind of situation that this is a father's role. Role and gender still plays a key part in relationships as well. So you need to be the best that you can be as a man, and you got to teach them these little life lessons and let them know, take them out, get them roughed up or whatever. Let them know that life is hard. Motherfuckers don't give a fuck about you. Nobody cares about you. Like Chris Rock said in his thing, once you leave out that door, people don't give a fuck about you, and they don't. But you got to be able to say that they don't need to. I got this. And you got to have them, you got to grow up, teach them to grow. I'm like really talking about our black men. I'm really talking about that. We need to grow up giving them instilling some kind of sense of self-worth in themselves, and knowing that this world is rough out here, and can I be able to handle? Me as a parent, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to make sure that my kids, let's say if I died, my kids can handle this world. That was my motto, because this world is rough. When I say handle this world, I mean go out there, don't take no shit from nobody, but don't be an asshole. Be nice to people. Don't antagonize anybody, but if somebody fuck with you, you know what to do. And just be respectful. If you respect yourself, people are going to respect you. So that's my whole, I never had daughters, but I can give them those type of lessons too. I'm gonna give my daughters different. Like I said, I had 2 conversations last night with my nieces, and we were talking about periods and gynecological, and one had to take some birth control because a period was waking up. It was crazy, the conversations, but for them to have those conversations with me and feel comfortable telling me that, I felt like, wow, because we have that bond. We have a bond with them. So I think when a blended family, you have to have a bond with that child, and you have to they have to trust you. You have to build their trust, and you have to know that as a parent that they are there for you.
I'll say, to dig a little deep, as men and women, we got to realize that one side are 2 entities. Meaning that no matter what you sign up for, if it's not discussed, you are in an open contract with no rules or boundaries. So therefore, you have to have the conversation of, what do you expect in the relationship? What do you expect for the children? So at least you have an idea of what you're signing up for. I think too often people just get together and try to make things work, and then get upset because they expected this person to be like this, or expected this person to be like that. Any unwritten negotiation you have in this contract means that I don't have to abide by these rules. But by opening the dialogue to say, hey, this is the type of person I am, this type of parent I am, how are you? Now you have an understanding of what you're trying to build. But if you don't have those conversations, more than likely the dynamic is not going to work. Because I don't believe in gender roles per se, because I feel like that was something outdated, and we're in the modern times where women don't stay home no more. Women are graduating at higher rates than men. So there's no longer that she has to stay barefoot, pregnant, and take care of the kids. But how do y'all make it work together? So I might do this, which is not the normal so-called man role, but if it works for us, then it works for us. So have the conversations. Write down what y'all would like to provide for each other and for the children, so that way it can be a success.
And I agree with that. I think you do need to have that conversation. Like, me and Danny talked about things, but then once Tatum was here, it was like, oh shit, we didn't talk about this, or we didn't think about this, But I'm glad that we had the preliminary talks, because had we not, it'd have probably been worse for us, I mean, there's bumps, like, there's no way to really prepare for being a parent. People could tell you things, and, they can give you advice, but there's no real blueprint. You know what I mean? They can tell you everything about this child, and then you have the opposite child. You know what I mean? Or they can tell you everything about this situation, but what about the other situation? You know, so I think that's why it's really important to kind of have that conversation, to kind of have those at least kind of touch the surface so you know what it is. Go ahead.
I just want to buttress what both of you guys said, or three of you guys said. When it comes to, like, back in the days, there were roles in gender, and there's still some kind of roles in gender, but I think your role should be organic. So whatever you're good at,
Right.
that's what you do. Just because you're a man, and you talked about this, Danny, you shouldn't be building the furniture just because you're a man. If you don't know how to do it,
Facts.
I used to tell you,
Facts.
I'm the
Exactly.
handy person in the family. Give me an
Same
L bracket
these.
and a drill, and I can fix anything. So if you are the best cook, then you should cook. If you are the best cleaner, you should clean. If you are the best get up and take care of the babies in the morning, then you should do that.
I'm good at something.
We love when Grandpa Ice is in town.
Exactly.
So we on vacation.
But people get all caught up in, like, well, you're a woman and you should do this, and you're a man and you should do that, and then things don't work. When you try to put a circle in a square, it's just not going to
We're
work.
pegging to a round hole.
So
Right.
it should just be
Organic.
organic.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what TJ said earlier about narratives. Never follow anybody's narrative. Create your own. Just because society says this, society functions in a sick way. It's chaotic. Make your own rules. Write your own story. Be the director of your own film. Don't follow nobody else's blueprint. Do your own. Be your own success.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like because I agree. It has to be organic. It has to, but I'm gonna add a caveat to that. It has to be organic because obviously you're going to always excel at what you're good at, but we still have to from time to time go beyond just what we're good at to help lighten the load or to help make things a little bit more balanced because and I'm not saying, and this is definitely not a shot at TJ or nothing, I'm just saying in general.
It's always a shot.
Shut up. So it's like if all you are is good at this one thing, and I'm good at or can accomplish the other 99 things, then that's not fair and balanced.
Right.
Like
No.
you gotta put yourself out there just a little bit more. Because there's going to be those areas where neither of us are really that great at it. We're like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't know you neither. And it's just like, okay, we're gonna have to put our heads together and figure this out together. I think that's just one little
I would
add on
agree.
to that.
All
because,
bases have to be covered. Nothing should be left undone.
Yeah,
And
nobody
should
be
be
doing
carrying
everything
nothing,
or just or
for
most
sure.
or something
Right,
because there's just there's going to be those gray areas where there's just like I don't know what to do. Shit, neither do I. But we got to figure it out. And so that's why, but I do agree though, it organically, because in our household, TJ, absolutely, I think he's a much better cook than I. So, if he makes more meals at home, perfectly fine with me. And yeah, I am more handy than TJ. So, if I'm going to be the one, building something or fixing the doorknob or something, that is going to be the dynamic. And it is what it is. Because gender norms and roles and norms, that's so
Passé.
It's so 20th century. It's 21st century. You just do you, boo. Okay. Alrighty.
So with that, we're done talking about the blended families for now. This is a relationship podcast, as Danielle will always say.
It is a
It's
relationship.
a relationship podcast. My parents have been married for 30 years. Right?
31.
31. Okay.
October 24th to be 31.
Okay. Ooh, look at that. He knows.
Exactly. When did we get married, babe?
March things.
So I can say
I had to remember. Anyway. and how long were you dating for? I count all that, sorry.
Anthony was going on 1. So how old are you?
36 years.
Okay, so, all right. And then we have Anthony, who was married, divorced, and now he's getting remarried. So I kind of wanted to touch on the dynamics. So for my parents, how do you keep it going? It's 30 plus years of being together, and there's ups, there's downs. It's 2 kids, grandkids. How do you keep this thing called life going?
So, marriage is not easy.
Try to talk into the mic. Yeah.
Marriage is not easy.
Oh, it's not. We say that all the
Right.
time. It's not
you
a
gotta-
job, but it's work.
Yeah, you got to work at it, and you got to be dedicated. And I think for us, like no matter what we went through, we always loved each other. And if one person gave up, the other person wasn't giving up. So sometimes it's, his time to carry the load because I'm just done. I'm done. And he was like, no, it is not going to end like this. Or sometimes it's my time to carry the load. But you have to try to be friends. You have to stay committed. You have to have dates. And just like I said, we just never give up. We almost like you. We love. What's the motto?
Fuss, we fight,
But we love. That's us.
Yeah.
So that's my tip.
And as cliche as it may sound, it is love. Like, as I reflect and, think of all the times I fucked up, and I have fucked up, because,
Human.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And I think the thing that keeps us together is love. I really believe she really loves me. Sometimes, like the song goes, she must love me. You know what I'm saying?
Jay all day.
So yeah, and I love her as well. And we go through, we have different personalities, which we couldn't have the same personality unless we would not have been together this long.
Sure.
But I think it really is love, and people are going to say, but it is love. And like I said, I came from a family of love. She came from a family of love, so we know what love is. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a relationship. You love your brothers and your sisters. You and your brothers and sisters, y'all in a relationship. Y'all have an argument. Y'all not like, I'm never going to speak to you again. And I think when you find somebody that you love, the marriage will stay together no matter what happens,
But another thing I will add to it, as the children grow, because I find like when you're in a marriage and you have kids, the children somehow, first it was just me and you, and it's about me and you, and now we have this child or these children, and now it's all about them, and all the conversations we have is about the kid and school and basketball and soccer and all that, and sometimes you lose yourself as a couple. And I give Anthony thanks for that. But one year we had a trip and we paid for him to go to Disney World. He was 16 years old, and he was just like, I don't want to go. I'm not going. I don't want to go. And I was like, you know what? Disney World, we brought the airfare. Hotel we're going to pay for it anyway. Once I get him there, I got to pay for parks. I got to feed him. You don't want to go, stay home. But what it did for me, it just reminded me that at the end of the day, like, these kids are going to be gone. And when they gone, do I even notice, dude? So that was a pivotal moment for me. And I'm like, I need to make sure I start doing more dates and talking to him and figuring out what he's doing and what we doing. And we got to, we always travel, but I'm going to get some more extra one-on-one vacation. And luckily, by the time TJ left to go to school, we were like solid into our whole dating thing and going out and hanging out, and we actually knew each other, so we could still be together without the kids. It wasn't the kids were gone and we're like, okay, who are you, what are we doing? We're just gonna keep flowing. Like, you'd be so happy these niggas are gone. So, let's do this.
You want to make sure that, like, by the end of your 18 years, that she's not like living with a stranger all over again, because it happens. I mean, that's kind of like my parents, to an extent too, because it was so much about the kids, and then once I left, it was like, and I always talk about that sometimes, where I had like a genuine anxiety about when I was like in my senior year of high school, where I'm like, yo, who are y'all going to talk to? Like, it's like, who, like, if it had to do with the house or the kids, the conversation was there. But outside of that, they didn't really have that much. They talked to me like about how they felt, what the day was, and we'd have this conversation. So I'm like, what are y'all about to do? And we see what they ended up doing, a couple of years later. But still, like, it happens all the time. So
I
think that's
keep
great.
it fresh.
Yeah, glad you got that advice.
Now for you, Mr. Smalls.
Yes, sir.
With you being divorced and now in the process of remarrying, how do you learn from your old marriage and not bring old things into your new marriage?
The best advice I can give anybody is, one, when you try to make decisions without really understanding what you're deciding as a young kid, it's not going to turn out right. Sometimes getting married or having kids too young is definitely not the right move. You're not mature enough. You're not experienced enough. You're not well read. You don't know what to experience, what to compare your life to other people's lives. So getting married at a young age probably wasn't the best choice then. Having kids probably wasn't the best choice then. So we also came with our own perceptions and expectations of each other, but never really had conversations. So therefore, I would say she's coming from her background with expectations for us. I'm coming from my background with expectations for us, but we're not talking. We're just expecting, you're supposed to be the wife I want you to be. You're supposed to be the husband I want you to be. And we never really figured it out. So it was doomed from the beginning, immaturity, too young. In the split, it took me trying to understand, one, who the hell am I? Because in that dynamic, like our parents said, you create an identity as a husband or as a father. So that was my identity. So when that was gone, I was like, well, who am I? All I know is just I'm a husband and I'm a father. So I had to take time to figure out who's Anthony, what is Anthony like, what is Anthony about? What's wrong with Anthony? Is Anthony broken? Is Anthony whole? Is Anthony happy? So I had to go through all of these different things to try to figure out who I was. And in those years of trying to figure it out, reading, going here, experiencing this and examining this, I found out who I was. I found out that Anthony is genuinely a happy person. Anthony always had to understand who he is and not let anybody else's words try to be him or stick. I know I'm happy. Everybody knows I'm happy. Everybody knows I'm funny. But when people say you're not happy, you're miserable, you're this or that, you don't have to take on that identity. So I realized that I am who I am now. Going into the situation I'm in now, I'm more well read where I can have these conversations with Steph and say, hey, Steph, I feel X, Y, Z. So in our first date, I was like, I feel like because we know each other, we can't bullshit each other. Dating is normally bullshitting each other. You're saying whatever's correct to try to win this date. So I know you, you know me. What do you really want in the long run? So she told me what she wanted. I told her what I wanted. And we were kind of just honest with each other. And I said, if you allow me to bring things to you and have a real conversation, then we'll be good as far as going forward. Because I feel like in my past, I never had a chance to really talk. I really never got much feedback. So now we have daily discussions. And one of the reasons why is because I read on an article that marriages normally stay together because people have an opportunity to go on vacation and hit the reset button. We're so working, we're so into the 9 to 5, so into the kids that life kind of gets the best of us. So I told her, I'm going to take that dynamic and put it into our relationship. We don't have to be on vacation, but every once in a while I want to hit the reset button and have a conversation of where you're at, how you feeling, are you good, are you happy, can I help you in your career path, can I help you in your personal growth, can you help me? As long as we're having the discussions, we can grow together versus growing apart. And I think those are the dynamics of my experience that have grown over the time.
I like that a lot. I think that that's a very insightful thing of like having like a check-in type of situation, because you can get so bogged down in the day-to-day that like you forget to touch base with people and be like, how are you? And like, or if you're seeing something kind of going left, you could be like, what? Like, let's stop, like you said, like, let's reset and like, be like, all right, what's going on? How can I help it? Something like that. Like, that might be something that I feel like we need to incorporate in more of, because it's very easy to like, especially with the person that you're like making a life with or that you've made a life with, to like, oh, they're fine or they're having a bad day or whatever. Like, you put without asking, without like actively inquiring with them. So I think that's a very good tidbit, piece of advice. Thank you. And I think we're going to wrap things up with a final thought for everybody. And not saying that this is going to be the only key, but in, DJ Khaled-esque tone, what's one major key that your experiences and relationships have given you about life? So it doesn't have to be that you only have one answer, because I'm sure there's many answers of things that have taught you, but if you could recall one like major key that like your experiences have given you about relationships, one major key that your experiences in relationships have given you about life, what would one of those major keys be?
I'll start.
Okay.
One of the things that I always said in discussion, I have discussions with young people between the ages of 21 and 45 about relationships. And we have like weekly discussions, we have weekly live discussions. And the one thing I've said to some of the women that they felt was so egregious to say, but I was like, but it's not asking for much. Mm-hmm. Women say they want somebody that will love them like they love their mother. So why, in turn, a man can't say, I want a woman that'll love me unconditionally like she would love her child?
Okay.
So a lot of times, once I hear that, I can't love a man like I love my child is different. I said, love is unconditional. Why is there a difference? I'm pointing out unconditional, and you're talking about the difference between the man and your child. You're not getting the point that I said unconditional like you would do your child. I'm just talking about the unconditioned part. But you want a man to love you like he loved his mother, but you're not his mother. So how can you ask for one but not understand the other complex? So I was going around trying to find somebody who would love me unconditionally, and I finally found that.
Okay. I have thoughts on that, but I'm going to hold it out for another conversation because I get some of what you're saying, but I don't necessarily agree with everything. But cool. My ice.
Go ahead, Laura.
You still thinking? She's mulling it over.
Me too.
Okay, I would just say patience
It's very important.
and self-love.
It's also key.
If you don't love yourself, don't know yourself, I don't think you can love others. And sometimes in relationships, you could come into a situation or things can happen where you start questioning yourself. Are you good enough? Are you strong enough? Are you this? Are you that? So I just think you need to just know who you are and constantly love yourself and feed yourself and have patience.
I like that.
I think that the one key I have is that relationships is a work in progress. It's like a painting that you're drawing and you will probably never finish it, but you have to keep working on it to create a masterpiece. And it's your masterpiece. There is no book, there's no cookie cutter way. It is what your goods, your bads, your unpleasantness, your pleasantries, it's all mixed up in one. And how do you just keep that canvas going? So I think it's a work in progress. You got to keep working at it. There's never going to be the perfect relationship, but you keep working on it to just make it a little better each day, I think.
What do you think, babe? I think that those are really sound pieces of.
I thought you were saying what was my major key, because I don't have one.
You don't have a major key?
Not at this moment. I didn't even think about it. Those were sound, patience,
self-love.
And then what Anthony said.
Work in progress and
love me the way you love your child.
Well, no, I can't.
He said like. See, you like the other women. You
I can't.
about.
I can't love you the way I love Tatum. It's two different types.
He said like.
I didn't say love me the way you would love your child. I said love me with the unconditionalness that you would have for your child. That's completely different. But they hear me comparing them to the child, and they I'm like, no, listen to the context of the language.
I don't think you can love your partner the way you love your child as far as the unconditional.
I think it's possible.
And we can disagree to disagree. I
don't think it's possible either. I used to, when I was in college, my psychology class, we used to get into this nature versus nurture. And I think the bond that a mother has with her child,
The unconditional
can
is
nothing,
nature.
nothing. No father. The bond that the mother has with her child is different than the bond of father, because that child is part of that woman. That like it's you can't. And if a woman wants you, or what you said to even if a woman says love me like you love your mother, even for a woman to even say that, I'm like, really?
But women do
That's
say
true,
that
too.
That
and
is
don't
crazy.
see the connection of what I'm pointing out. You're saying love me like you would love your mother. I'm saying love me unconditional like you would. That's different
It's
to
just
me.
you're just talking about
But
not
there's
the
no
relationship.
absolutes.
Yeah. Well, I think that could be a whole other episode, but
And
we
that's
are.
one in a million. So
Yeah.
if you know, there are some women, and I know them, who do love their man more than they love their child, and we see it in the news when the babies are beat to death. I think that's a case where women love
Right.
their men more than they love their children.
Or there's an absence of self-love and self-worth, which is why they feel like they got to cling on to a partner or something like that. But, all right, we're going to throw it to Ant, and then we're going
I just
wrap
wanna
this up
jump
on
in.
a high note.
Yeah, that was a little low.
You brought us all the way back down.
I was saying love more. I just talk about that one word, unconditional. That's the caveat. I was all about, like, everybody says that they love Jesus because Jesus loves unconditional, but everybody leaves out that whole phrase unconditional. What does unconditional mean? Unconditional means without flaw, without judgment, without condemnation. Like, that one caveat is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying love me more than your child. I'm just saying that the level of
neglect your
unconditional. Yeah, I'm not saying I don't agree with that.
All right. Well, family, this has been awesome. Thank you guys so much for being guests on our little show that could. So, yeah, I think that, we've had so much insight, so many gems dropped and conversation had that there's nothing for us to fight about because, the family's not feud in the day. So it won't be a quarrel. But we want to thank you guys again for taking the time during the last part of our vacation to talk with us. We appreciate it, family.
We do.
Maybe our parents may not have any places for people to follow them on. But Anthony, do you want people to give people your handle or let them know about Playtime or anything like that?
Oh, okay. Well, the group is called Playtime Worldwide. We have a website, playtimeworldwide.net. We also have Playtime Worldwide on Instagram, Playtime Worldwide on Facebook. It's basically just a young group that we do some of the biggest game nights on the East Coast. We're based in New York, but we have done events in Atlanta, and we're looking to expand even to come to your area of Maryland at some point and try to do something out there. Also, I'm on Smallsby the Name and Instagram, and I look forward to hearing the episode and seeing y'all in the future.
Yes, at the live show.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, as always, lovers, we thank you guys for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. And of course, if you want to follow us and see the family, see us in our everyday lives, you want to hit us on Instagram at Lovers Quarrel Show. You want to follow us on Twitter at Lovers Quarrel 7. You want to, email us at loversquarrelshow@gmail.com. Always looking for news, suggestions for quarrels, comments, questions, feedback, all of that. Follow us on all those mediums. Make sure you leave reviews in Apple and
Anywhere.
anywhere.
We're on Spotify.
SoundCloud.
My man now always gets at me. He's like, "You're on Spotify. You need to be pushing that." So yes, we're on Spotify. We're
everywhere.
Yeah, we're everywhere. So, we appreciate y'all for taking the time out of y'all schedule to listen to us. And November 10th, we hope to see you there.
In Baltimore, please. We want to make sure that you guys have a great time. We have a great show lined up for y'all. So be there or be square. And this has been another episode of Lovers Quarrel. And as always, I am your girl, Dani.
And I'm your guy, TJ.
And we fuss.
We fight, but we love.
Bang.
Bang.
I win.
It doesn't count if you say
I'm covering my bases. I win.
But it doesn't count.
I win.
You got it.
I win.
You lost.
Stop. I win. Hit stop.
I win. I win.
You lost.